Hi everyone, Morgan from the Assist Agency. I've had a few requests to break down the high level, low level boards into a step-by-step tutorial. So this one's going to be a little bit longer today, and we're just going to build out connected high level and low level boards. Just want to preface this by saying, of course, I feel like everyone does Monday a bit differently, and this might not be exactly how others do it. I'm always open to feedback and learning more about the system. So if you've got any tips, absolutely leave them in the comments. The use case that I'm going to do today is something that's probably more similar to my line of work, which is in a services-based business with repeat clients. I'm going to use it for tracking retainer work or hourly rate work from a client point of view. So let's get stuck in now. Again, as we said, we're going to do high level and low level boards. So for me, the first thing that I want to do is just create a bit of structure around my high level board. Now I'm just going to keep it as a main board, which means it's open for everyone to see. I could, of course, make it private if it's, as it is a bit more of a manager view, but that's up to you and your organization. So I'm just going to delete everything out here, and you'll see why eventually. I might just keep the person one in there. Now I'm just going to organize my groups. So for me, I want to have a planned project work. And then we completed. So we're just going to add a new group. Okay, so for me, the way that I'm going to use my system is that the whole process is triggered when the planned project work comes in. So for a service-based business, you might have onboarded your client and you're ready to begin work. I would pop their details in here as an indicator that we need to create the client board and get that kind of process rolling. So there is a few ways that you can get the information into this board. You could manually, if you finished onboarding a client, you could manually just type their name and get that ready. You could create a form which somebody in the organization or the client themselves fills out, which then creates an item in the board. Or alternatively, if you've got a different management system for your onboarding, once it hits a certain status, you could then trigger it to duplicate and create an item in this section here, which would then trigger the workflow. So that's just for a bit later on down the track, but this is essentially how my high level board is going to look. So for me, I want to build out my low level boards or my project board first, because that allows me to kind of look at the different types of information that I then want to pull through to the high level board. So really the information that's in this board is pretty much 90% going to be mirrored from those lower level project boards. So what I'm going to do first is create a new board, and I'm just going to call this low level client board, and we're going to call this projects. It doesn't really matter what you choose here. You can even pop in your own. It's not a big deal. So essentially I'm going to spend time building out this board for the information that I want to track per client. So for me, I'm just going to have an active projects group, a completed projects group, and then maybe another one for any projects that are on hold or for whatever reason aren't currently going ahead. Okay, so now I want to start building out the information that I want in here. So I'm going to put in here as PM or project manager for that particular client. I'm just going to delete these whilst I build it out. So I want to have a timeline column so I can see the due date of the project and I know how much time I have to actually complete that particular project. I'm also going to add in a date column here, and I want that to be the due date, or sorry, the date completed, meaning the date I actually completed the work. Now I can also pop in here some dependencies columns. Now this is really helpful for if I have a list of projects. I'm going to keep this as flexible, meaning that if the item that it's dependent on changes timeline, then it's automatically going to change the timeline of the task that is dependent on the first task as well. So that just means I don't have to manually change that timing, it's going to happen automatically. So dependencies is good where if I've got a few different projects for the one client, but I can't start one until the other one is finished, I can create some dependencies there, which is going to help assist me with my timeline. Okay, so I'm just going to pop in a files column. So this is where I can upload any type of file. So these ones are really good that you can do upload from computer, upload from your Google Drive, SharePoint. You can upload a lot of different files here, and it doesn't really have any, I don't think it actually has any restrictions on the files that you can upload. So I'm going to pop in a numbers column here because I'm actually going to be tracking my hours that I've been doing. So I'm going to change this to current billable hours, and we're just going to head to the footer column to be able to type in my own unit of measure, and I'm just going to call this hours. So you can see here we've got current billable hours, which I'll update, and then my hourly rate column, which is another numbers column. So hourly rate, and then we're just going to change this here to dollars. And now I'm going to actually pop in a formula column, and this is going to assist me with actually automatically populating that information. So I'm going to call this as, if you just hit the little squiggle bracket, you can pop in the column that you want to do the formula on. So I'm going to make this formula my hourly rate times my billable hours. So that's just going to give me what my current client cost is at the moment. And you'll see this makes sense when we put it all together. Okay, perfect. So I'm just gonna, that's okay for now with just the information that I need. Now what I'm going to do is I want to create this as a template, which means that this basic outline, all of the columns, the structure of the board is going to be replicated every time for a client. So I just want to click more actions, so the three dots up here, more actions, and save as a template. Okay, so you can see here that the purple tab has popped up here. So any changes that you make on this board is going to update any other boards that you create from this template. So now that I've created this template, I'm just going to pop in a quick automation here, which states that when an item is created in this board, and it will automatically just pop into this first group, then we want to create a template. Actually, what I might do first, I might just pop in a status, and I want to change these to planned, make this blue, active, green. So you can see I'm just mirroring the colors from the different projects. So we're just going to change this one to pink, and we're just going to call this completed. All right, so this just helps me just differentiate the different statuses of the work. So let's pop in just a couple of automations that I would do as kind of standard on this board. So when an item is created, we want to change the status to planned, and then we want to notify. And as we said from other videos, when you actually do the auto populate field, whoever's actually, before we do that, so let's assign, I'm just going to do myself as the person who's responsible. Again, of course, you could put whoever you wanted or who was in charge of assigning those projects out in your company or your business. So so when an item is created in this board, it's going to automatically set the status as planned, and then it's going to add myself as the assignee, and then we can even go one step further, and then we're going to notify the person to say that it's ready. Okay, so whoops. And we're going to notify in the people column. Cool. So we're going to create that automation. That's just a first step. Okay, so we've done that first automation. So we're just going to create another one. So we want to do when the status changes to to active, then we want to move it to the active group. And then from there, we're going to actually take this automation one step further, and we want to create a board from a template. So you can see this is why we had to change that low-level board into a template so that we can recreate it for each new client automatically. Now, a few steps here. So with your board, we can either create a new board from scratch, but as we said, we're going to use a template. So we want to use the one that we just created for our low-level client board. With the board name, if you don't change this, it'll just come through as new board. But for ease of, seeing which one's which, what we can do is click the plus button, and we can actually make the board name whatever item name you put in. So if you're doing it by client, then you would see the client's name. And we can just say client board. One step from here is that you just want to pop into advanced. So without changing it, it will default to your main workspace. You can see the little one with the home. So if you don't want it to go there and it's going to a specific workspace, just make sure that you click that one, otherwise it won't pull through correctly. So we'll save that and create that automation. All right, so status is planned. It's going to create me as the person, and then I'm going to get my notification based off the automation. Now let's change this to active. Perfect, and then we'll see it pop up into the right workspace. There we go. So this is Michael Scott's dedicated client board or low-level board. And as you can see, it's all pre-populated based off the template. Okay, so now next step here is that I want to now connect these boards, and then I want to mirror the columns that I want to see on a larger scale. So the first step that I'm going to do here is I'm going to connect my boards using this one and select the board that I want to connect to. So let's connect to Michael Scott client board, and let's also just connect to the demo board as well. When you connect your boards, you want to always create a two-way connection. This means that the data is going to show on both sides of the board. If you don't hit create two-way connection in the beginning, you can't do it after the fact. So then you'd have to delete the connect boards column and start again. So just make sure that you're always doing that at the beginning. Okay, great. So we've already got a mirror column here. So this then creates our link. Now, what we want to do here, as I said, this mirror column is connected to the connect boards column. So it's going to mirror any information from both the template and the Michael Scott client board. Now, what we're going to do is customize this, and we want to choose the information that it's going to pull through. So I'm going to select the timeline view, and then we can change this to timeline. Perfect. Now I also want to pull through a bit more information. So I'm also going to pull through the billable hours. So again, let's do more columns, mirror column. Again, we're just going to connect to that same board, same two boards that we've got, which is our template board and the Michael Scott board. And we want to pull through the billable hours. And this is going to show the summary as a standard sum. So it's just going to calculate all of the total billable hours across all of my client boards. So we'll call this billable hours. Sometimes it does this little freak out with, I think it is my Chrome. So I'm just going to refresh that. Okay. Billable hours. And then I also want to pull through my total client costs. So we'll do that again. Now another option that you have here as well is just to duplicate this tab here, which will pull it through as a formula column. Sorry, a mirror column of what you've got in there, and then you can just change it from there. So it's just an easy way to do it. Client cost. So just want to pull through what we're seeing in the client cost. And we're going to rename this client cost. Okay, so now I'm going to do now the thing with the mirror, a high level board, is that whilst we can mirror information through, and that's where we're getting the majority of our data, we can also pop in our own columns that are just specific to this board as well. So for me, if I've got a retainer client who has a set amount of hours that they've paid for in advance, I want to be able to track that against how many billable hours they've used up so far. But it might not be something that needs to be in this low level board, because this is just our micro detail of the projects that we're working on. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop in a numbers column here with retainer package. And then we can again change that to hours. I'm going to pop in remaining hours. Now this is going to be a formula, and this is essentially going to be, so again, if we do the squiggle, we're going to do the retainer package, which will be at the number of hours total minus billable hours so far. So as that goes down, our remaining retainer hours are going to go down. So this will help me to be able to keep track of where we're going. Okay, cool. So now that we've got a good overview of what we're working with for seeing all of our status of our clients all at once, the next step that we want to do is that we want to actually link the boards together. So what we're going to do, just from the Michael Scott side, you can see here that it's now popped in a link to this side as well. So as we spoke about in the other video, is that we want to make sure that every item that's coming through on this board is going to automatically be linked to the high level board, so that information is consistently pulling through. So what we want to do, just as a first step, is go to the item default values, and we want to make sure that every new item that comes onto this board is automatically going to be synced with the Michael Scott project on that high level board. So that fixes any new information that's coming into this board, and then it's simply a matter of Control A, and we just want all existing items to then also be connected to Michael Scott on the board. Great. So you can see here that they're all connected so far. Now, if we had any info or detail in there, you can see that it would all pull through here. So you can see here, this is where the multiple items are connected in the Michael Scott active project workboard. So let's just pop through. I might just delete all of the items so that I can show you. Okay, so let's say we have a few active projects for Michael Scott. So we're going to say website design, and you can see here the item default value, it's already popped into the Michael Scott on the high level board, which means it's going to capture automatically all of this information. Let's say logo creation and image library. Okay, so let's say the timeline, we'll pop in a project manager. So we've got a week to do that. We've got, let's say, now just using our dependency boards. So let's say, for example, the website design cannot start until the logo creation has begun or been completed. So let's say that this is going to be dependent on the logo creation. So if the website is due to start on October 3rd, but the logo creation isn't going to be finished until the 6th, then you can see here it's going to automatically change our timeline out to October 7th because it purely cannot start until the logo creation is done. And then let's say the image library has to be done from there up until the 21st. So we pop them in, and you'll see, just as an example, that it was pulled through the total timeline. So that's 19 days. Now that's a culmination of all three of those projects. So let's update a few more details. So let's say that we've done 10 hours so far, 2 hours so far, and 1 hour on this one. The hourly rate that we're charging Michael is 100 across all. And the client cost, we didn't pop in this. So the client cost will be the hourly rate times the current billable hours. And we're going to set that formula. Great. So it pre-populates in how much the client has been charged for all of the work so far against how many current billable hours. So again, we'll pop through to that high level board and we'll see total of 13 hours, total of $1,300. And let's say that his retainer package is 25 hours. So we can see that he has 12 hours remaining on his package. So this just gives you like a real overview of what it would look like to have multiple clients on the one board. So if we get rid of these ones, let's do another one just straight away, and we'll call this one Pam Beasley. All we would do there is just connect this. So you can see here that it's listing the boards. I'm going to connect to the Pam Beasley board. And you could manually connect all of these items, or you can do it as we did it from the other side and actually connect first from the low level board. So Control A. And we want to connect to Pam Beasley. So just easier to do that than have to click all of the other ones individually. Great, so you can see here that it's now connected with all of those items. And there we go. Now just a option here as well for you. The only thing with Monday is that you do have to, when you're connecting boards and you're pulling through information, it can get a bit hectic with the amount of columns that you need. And if you want it to just look neat and organized, all that you have to do is select hide. We can not show this link column, or you can remove any columns that you don't want to see from just the total view, and hit save as a new view. And this can just be, we want to call this the default view, which means, and then you actually need to set it as your board default. And it just means that when you open up that's not where it's going to, what you're going to see automatically. But if you head to the main table, you'll see everything there. Not really a big issue, and this has to be there to connect everything. But if just for a visually, from a visual standpoint, that's what you can see if you like. So again, if we just use this as an example of seeing the different status information, then we can pop in some more client work. So we'll do our timelines. Our current billable hours, so we'll say we've done 5 hours and 0 so far. Hourly rate 200. Client cost, so you can see here, because that client cost didn't pull through on the template, it's not pulling through on each of these boards. So I just need to go back into my template, and then I just need to fix this up here. So we want to do the squiggly line, and the client cost is going to be our hourly rate times our billable hours. It's that formula. Great, so then now that's will come through to any future boards that we do, but I just need to do it here one last time. Perfect. So you can see here the client cost is all pulled through, and then on that high level you'll see Pam Beasley is at this status, and let's say that her retainer package is 10 hours, then we'll see how many remaining hours that we have. So something else that we didn't pull through as well, like if there's a status column that you can put in here and pull through to see the current status of the projects, you can really mirror pretty much any of these columns that you want to build out in your low level board. I hope this was helpful in a step-by-step of how to set that up and what that can look like. Any questions or any feedback, please let me know. Thank you.